Welcome to the Handed Down Kitchen, where we bring recipes out of the past and back into the kitchen. Today's recipe is from the 1930s and it's for one of our favourite lunchtime snacks, sausage rolls. And these are definitely the fanciest sausage rolls we've ever had, from the homemade pastry to the compulsory paper doily. We found this recipe in our copy of Cookery Illustrated and Household Management, which was published in 1936, and we'll be using two recipes from this book, the first for the actual sausage rolls and the second to make the puff pastry. Most of the time and effort is in the pastry making, and you can always use ready-made puff pastry instead, but we'll be showing you the 1930s way. So to make them, you will need the following ingredients: half a pound or 227 grams of plain flour, the same weight in butter, half a teaspoonful of salt, half a lemon, about a teacupful of water, half a pound or 227 grams of sausages, 1 egg, and some fresh parsley. The very first thing we're going to do is to boil our sausages for about 5 minutes. The recipe says it's best to boil the sausages before making them into rolls in order to extract some of the fat. If this is not done, the puff paste or pastry is apt to be sodden or soggy, so that's what we're doing. You can really use any sort of sausage meat with this recipe. We're using Cumberland Pork Sausages here, but we also made some with beef sausages which we boiled for the same amount of time, and these turned out just as well. After boiling for 5 minutes, remove your sausages and leave them to cool down completely. And once they've cooled down completely, peel away their skins. There's a note at the end of this recipe saying that instead of sausage meat, you can use homemade force meats, moistened with a bit of sauce and seasoned. So this recipe really encourages the reader to use whatever they like as a filling. And then cut your skinned sausages in half lengthways. Out of these 4 sausages, we're going to get 8 sausage rolls. Now we've finished preparing our sausages, we're going to move on to making the puff pastry. Start by sifting your flour and half a teaspoonful of salt into a large bowl. As I said earlier, you can always skip this part and use ready-made puff pastry if you like. Just make sure you've got half a pound or 227 grams of it and that it's rolled out to 1/8 of an inch in thickness. Next, juice half a lemon and strain it so you don't have any bits. And just mix into it a drop of your water. Make a well in the middle of your flour and pour in your lemon juice. Give this a quick mix just to combine everything, and next we're going to start adding in the rest of our water. We need to add our water in degrees until the mixture turns into a dough that gets as near the consistency of butter as possible. So we're looking for quite a soft and sticky dough. It took us about 2/3 of a teacupful of water to get the right consistency. Then turn your dough out onto a floured surface, a pastry board or a marble slab if you have one, and this needs to be very well floured indeed because it's a very sticky dough. Knead it for about a minute until it puffs up and you can see air bubbles. Then roll out your dough just very lightly. Set this to one side for a moment and bring out your cold block of butter. We've got to roll this out to about half the size of the dough, so put it between 2 sheets of baking paper and just slowly roll it out to flatten. And we're going to use this to laminate the dough with. Time to put the two together now, so flour your countertop again and bring back your dough. Place your butter in the middle of the dough and give it a light dusting of flour. Fold over the edges of your dough so that your butter is well tucked in but not completely covered, leaving a window where you can see the butter in the middle, and then pop this into the fridge for about 1 hour. Bring your pastry out again, and now we're going to start rolling it out. And this is where the recipe's instructions get a little complicated, but after reading them over and over, we're sure we followed them correctly. So first, roll your pastry out lengthways, side to side like this, and as straightly and evenly as possible. Then flip the pastry over and roll it out in the very same way on the other side. Fold your pastry 3 times. Then turn it half around so that the raw edges face you and you can see a bit of the butter, and roll it out again in the very same way. Fold this into 3 again, and then put into the fridge for half an hour more. Bring it back out and then just repeat these steps one more time, rolling out, folding into 3 and then leaving to rest in the fridge for 1 more half hour. Bring your pastry out of the fridge again and roll it out to about 1/8 of an inch in thickness. Then cut it into squares, or rectangles in our case, and make it so that these are 1 inch longer than your sausages. Now we're going to start forming the sausage rolls, so brush along the 2 side edges of your pastry squares with cold water, and then lay one of your sausage halves down towards one edge of the pastry. Then start rolling this over until the far edge of the pastry has been reached. Brush over this edge with some cold water on both sides to make the pastry stick down. Then just press the ends of the pastry together so that these stick as well, and to really seal them you can trim them straight across and clamp the edges with a fork like this. Lay your rolls onto a dampened sheet of baking paper and just brush the tops with a whole beaten up egg. Then pop these into the oven to bake for 20 to 30 minutes at 180 degrees Celsius. Ours took the whole half hour. When they're ready, put your rolls onto some paper kitchen towels just to absorb any extra grease, and to serve up, arrange them on fancy dish paper, so we assumed that means a paper doily. Finally, sprinkle them with some fresh parsley, and they're done. A recipe for sausage rolls published in 1936. And you can have these hot or cold, they last a few days in the fridge, and we had some for work the next day. They will definitely keep you going. We hope you enjoyed this video. If so, please leave us a like, and if you'd like to see us recreate more antique or old recipes, be sure to subscribe to our channel. You can also find full instructions for this recipe and many more on our website, linked in the description box below.